So my big project for today is to get my garden shed and all around it here all cleaned up and organized and ready for a year full of gardening. Good morning, y'all. Today's project is cleaning up this garden shed and all of the beds around the garden shed. The whole area around this garden shed is just a mess. We've been working diligently on starting lots of seeds so that we can fill up the potager garden this year with flowers and herbs and lots of vegetables. We've been working on our new addition to the potager garden, our new fruit orchard and market garden, and we've been working really hard on preparing all of the garden beds and getting them ready to plant. Gene's been spending as much time as he has on the goat fence. We're still working on the goat fence and trying to create more pastures and more fencing for the goats and for our future animals. So we've been really busy, and this whole area over here has been totally neglected, and everything just gets thrown over here and nothing gets put back in its place. Champ has knocked over pots and broken those, and I think we've had, I don't know if it's a rat or a squirrel or what, but something's been terrorizing my little counter over here and knocked over a lot of my terracotta pots and broke them. So I've just got a mess here. I was hoping this past fall to repaint the garden shed. It needs to be painted, needs a little touch-up work done on it, but I didn't get to do it this fall, so I'm hopeful that this coming up fall we'll be able to take some time, and it's going to be a job because you have to pull everything out of there and we'll have to repaint it, so it's going to be a bit of a task, but I'm hopeful that this fall we'll be able to do that. But today I'm just focusing on getting it cleaned up, getting things organized so that this spring and this summer, when we're just super busy in the garden, everything will have some order. And I want to work on my garden beds around the garden shed and around the chicken coop over there today. And I have a shade medicinal herb garden behind my garden shed here. It really needs some help. It didn't even get touched last year. It's in super bad shape. This is one of my favorite spots here on our farm. I have many favorite spots here on our farm, but I love my little garden shed and my little seating area right over there. It's just one of my favorite spots to retreat to and just cool off for a minute, relax, maybe thumb through some magazines or Pinterest, get some ideas, write my garden journal. But it's also my place that houses all of my garden tools and needs, like my harvest baskets, my tools, my fertilizers, my organic chemicals, my pots. It just holds everything. Plus it has, you know, garden decor that I've collected over the years or that's been given to me. So this space is very utilitarian. It serves a great purpose. It holds all of my gardening tools and needs, but it's also my little retreat place to run to cool off and to think and to dream and just to rest for a minute. So my big project for today is to get my garden shed and all around it here all cleaned up and organized and ready for a year full of gardening. It's easier to me just to pull it all out because it's such a mess and get everything out here, get it with things that go together, like all my baskets, my rabbit food, all that kind of stuff, and then clean it up and then put it back in there orderly. So first task, pull it all out. my daughter-in-law was getting rid of these, and I said, hey, let me have them. That's an awesome plant stand. Two of them. And my mother-in-law gave me this. Jean's mom. Isn't that so super cool? I can just envision this hanging from one of the rafters up there with herbs and stuff hanging off of it, or shoot, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I love it though. Might make a nice trellis. friends. I finished cleaning up the garden shed and all around it late yesterday afternoon. So while it's cleaned up, this is a perfect time to give you a little bit of a tour. We moved onto our farm Thanksgiving of 2016, and that following spring, Jean built my dream garden shed for me. I had dreamt of this garden shed for a long time and prepared for it. I found windows and saved them, and then just different garden art pieces and pieces for the garden shed. We had things gifted to us like my concrete table over here and my sink. They were given to us by our sweet friend Mama C, and we just put them in storage because I knew that those were pieces that was going to be used in my garden shed. So Jean built this for me in 2017, and it needs a little work on it right now. It needs, I need a new floor put down. I laid down the brick floor myself, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. I love it, but rodents dig their way into the garden shed. Like, I don't know if it's chipmunks or moles or I don't know what it is, rats, I don't know what it is, but they dig their way into the garden shed and they mess the bricks all up, and it's just not working. So I think we're going to just pour some concrete in there or something. I'm really not sure what we're going to do. It also needs to be repainted and just a few little minor things done to it. The windows were given to us by Jean's cousin, and the door was an extra door that they left with our home. And then we just purchased like beadboard. This is exterior beadboard is what we used on the outside of it. And Jean made this little awning for me over the door and the window. And what I have planted here is a couple of boxwoods. And these are arborvitaes, and I just had to replant those there because the drought last year killed my other two that were pretty tall and substantial. I did have Lamarck rose planted here, which is a white creamy yellow, but I replaced it with Cecile because Lamarck just was not doing well here at all. But this one is doing great. It seems to love it, and it's also known as the sweetheart rose. My friend Beth at Crowley House has a Cecile Brunner that is just glorious at the entrance into her flower farm shed where she puts all of her arrangements and everything together. And it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I decided when I needed to replace this rose that that's who I was going to use, because I think it's going to be so beautiful climbing up that lattice and going over that awning in as my entrance into the garden shed. It's a beautiful light pink. It's so sweet, so pretty. Let me recommend to y'all that you go over and follow Beth at Crowley House. She has a gorgeous flower farm. She puts together some beautiful designs. She has a sweet family, and she's just precious, precious, precious. Y'all are gonna love her. Y'all go check out her channel if you're not already following her. I'll put a link in the description. That is a popcorn drift rose, and that's just a little sedum, autumn joy sedum. And I have a broken terrarium that I got off of the half off table at Petals from the Past, and I just stuck it over that sedum. I think that looks really cute. Another arborvitae that I replaced. And then as we come around here, there's some lemon balm. And these are little dwarf deutzias. They're called Nico Blue. And they're deutzia. They have little white blooms. They're about to open up. Really sweet. I had an Annabelle hydrangea there, but it just didn't make it. So I don't know what I'm gonna replace it with yet. And then right here is my little table. I've got a chandelier that I bought at a thrift store probably 25 years ago. But I love to sit right here and just draw, write my garden journal. And that is my view. Right over there is Jean's mom and dad. We built them a little tiny home, and they're over there. We love having them here on the farm. Over on this side of the garden shed, Jean put me in a sink and a water catchment system. So the water collects from the gutters into the water catchment, and that is my water for my sink. And then we just catch it in that bucket, and I use that water to water the plants all around the garden shed and the chicken coop. And the back of the garden shed, Jean made me a place to put all of my tools so that we could keep all the garden tools organized. Up on the top is different pots and containers. And then he got these little pegs. He actually made them all across, and that's just where we keep our garden tools. Keeps everything nice and organized. And then this is my medicinal shade garden bed. Chase and I made this quite a few years ago. We just took old logs that were laying out here and made a little border. We started this bed out with a layer of logs, trees that have fallen in the forest, and we're already starting to decay. So we put that down as a base layer, and then we just started building a compost pile right here, a giant compost pile. We would take like any empty pots and dump those out here, kitchen scraps, plant debris, leaves, whatever we had, we would just dump it all right here. And it created this big compost pile, really. This is actually a hugelkultur style garden. So after that all composted, then I started planting in it. This little garden bed is designated for shade-loving herbs. This is my Camellia sinensis tree, or shrub. I have one there and I have one there. And this is actually what all of our tea is made out of, from the leaf. And when it blooms, the honeybees love it. I have planted some little lemon balms underneath that to add to the tea. And we've got some yarrows here that survived. And motherwort made it. Super excited about that. And down here, got a couple of comfreys and a mullein plant right over there. So I've got this whole bed here ready to be planted. This right here is where we have rosemary and peace right now. We made them a little 3-story rabbit hutch. This is an Aivituvin chicken coop actually, but we turned it into a little 3-story rabbit hutch. Jean added that second level down there for them, and they love it. Hey girls. Hey girls. They're best friends. We keep them over here because it's shaded for the most part. Now this right here is not the garden shed, but it's right across from the garden shed, and this is our chicken run and chicken coop. And this is a worm compost bin that Jean made me. He made this for me out of an old bathtub that they had at the hunting club. So I did have worms in it and they died. So I'm gonna get some more worms and get my worm compost system going again. We have a water catchment system here as well, coming off of the gutters of the chicken coop. And I use that to water all the plants over here as well. And then this is our chicken coop. And this one has a whole story of its own, so we'll talk about that in another video. All right, let's take a look at the inside of the garden shed. It is full of all of my garden treasures. This is an old door that I saved. Jean made me a table out of it. And that's just a little sign that I made. Different things that I've collected. My friend Holly gave me this. It's a vent out of like a commercial building, I think. And I just think it's super cool looking. All of my pots. We got a Martin birdhouse at an old antique sale one time, and we never have put it up. Keep all my terracotta pots in here. Different tools. fertilizers and chemicals. I got this old toolbox thing from a friend of mine, TRACY. She was cleaning out her father's shed, and I got that from her. And I just use it to keep different stuff in. And this is something my friend Kathy at Petals from the Past gave me. Jean and I got that old window at an antique thing one time on one of our trips. A view of my potager garden from the garden shed. This was Jean's grandmother's garbage can. We had a neighbor in our old house, and he gave me this table. He had it out in an old barn. Mr. Smitherman, we loved him, and he gave me this. I love it, love it, love it, and I always had in mind that this would go in my garden shed someday. So there it is, a little tour of one of my many happy places here on the farm. Now I've got to go get some plants in the ground. I've got kohlrabi and broccoli and cauliflower and collards and all those wonderful cool season vegetables that need to be in the ground. We have beautiful weather in the future forecast, so I think this is a perfect day to get those things in the ground. All of these are my cool season vegetables that I'm going to be planting today. This is kohlrabi. Already starting to develop. Aren't they beautiful? My goal today is to get all of these cool season vegetables planted in the potager garden. So I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm going to get busy. But y'all join me back here on the farm next week, and we'll take a look at the gardens, maybe take a little visit with the animals, and just hang out together. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. God bless you, and I'll see y'all next week.